What's happening, Dynasty? It's your commish. It is the Week 12 recap, along with a little preview for Week 13. Because, to be honest, there's not a ton that's still up for grabs in Week 13. I did post the scenarios to both the league page and to Facebook. So if you've checked those already, you can skip the second half of the video. Let's just, we'll do a quick recap. Not a whole lot of surprising results. The one surprising result, what ended up being the Kia Sorrento matchup of the week. Did I call that one this week or not? I don't know. But Organized Chaos, still clinging to playoff life. Just had to win out. Needed Brian to lose his last two. I did my part for you, Justin, because the Nuts did lose. You had the two easiest teams in the league left on your schedule, and you couldn't get it done in Week 12. So it was Borkham's Ballbusters getting his second victory of the year. 112, Organized Chaos 101. Just quickly looking at the matchups, just a poor performance all the way around, other than Delaney Walker and Justin Hunter. But 5 points from Ryan Mallett. That's who you started? Who's your real quarterback? Oh, you have Cam. No real guys, I guess, that you could have put in to help you. Only 5 points from Deshaun. Deshaun had been putting up some pretty solid weeks. Just did not happen this week. Decker with 10 points last night. Sammy Watkins only 6. Lamar Miller only 6. Riley Cooper only 7. So Justin, you looked a lot better 3 weeks ago. Now, a lot of this coincides with your fire sale of your guys, so it's not shocking. But then over on Borkham's side, a big game from Stedman Bailey. Of course there was. 21 points. Andrew Hawkins with 14 points after a goose egg, I believe, last week. He did have a goose egg. Ben Tate did not play at all, which was kind of surprising. They signed him, or Minnesota signed him. Asiata was out, so it was just McKinnon, I think. I gotta be honest, I didn't watch a ton of that game. Big game from LeGarrette Blount. 19 points, 2 touchdowns. Jonas, who? Don't fall asleep on Bill Belichick. He'll sit your ass down. Rashad Jennings with a nice game back from injury, with 8 receptions. So a nice game by him. And the 112 points for Bork was good enough to win. It's one of the highest point totals that Bork has had in quite a while. I mean, but let's be honest, this was just the battle of the teams of the selling teams. So not really surprising that they scored, just over 200 between the two of them. Let's see here. What match do we want to go to next? That's Week 11. I don't want Week 11. I want Week 12. There we go. We'll go with the biggest blowout of the week. Rob continues to get lucky. I'm going to continue to call you lucky, Rob. And, how many more points do I have than you? I have almost 1,900 points. You have less than 1,650. So over 250 more points than you. Yeah, we have the same record. 11-1. You are going to probably finish tied with the second best record in the history of the league. And you'll probably have the fewest points scored against you in the history of the league as well. But you did actually come to play this week. So I guess I can't really take a whole lot from you. You did drop 162. You beat Ivan by more than 100. And that 59 that Ivan scored, the Honey Badger, included 23 points from Latavius Murray. So an extra 18 over projection. So let's start with Ivan's team. Stafford terrible, Doug Baldwin terrible, Kenny Britt terrible, Frank Gore terrible, Jay Samaro and Cody Latimer combined for 0 points, and you didn't start an active kicker. I've spent enough time on you. Over on Rob's side, huge games from Peyton. From Odell Beckham Jr. If you haven't seen that catch yet, everyone and their brother has seen that catch. If you haven't seen that catch yet, YouTube it. Just unbelievable. Justin Forsett with a huge game last night. So Sunday afternoon games, nothing really spectacular for you other than Manning. But your guys came to play on Sunday night and Monday night. You are still eligible for the 1 seed. Just got to get it done next week, and you better hope that I lose, or you need to outscore me by that 250 points. We'll go week 11 again. No, that's a bad Yahoo. We'll go to the other really big blowout. So 162 was good for you, Rob. Not as good as Reitzma, who dropped 168 over Cecil Seashorts, who scored 95. Speaking of Cecil Seashorts, Cecil's Shorts the third with only 1 point. Fleener with only 4. Fleener was supposed to have a huge day. Jacksonville playing against Indianapolis. Dwayne Allen was out. Fleener had come off a huge game the week before against New England. Did not come to play this week, though. Only 4 points. It was probably nice to see Keenan Allen perform well. 18 points for him, 18 points for Colson. But that's really about all that Chris had. Over on Reitzman's side, he had 1, 2, 3, 4 guys with at least 20 points. That's cute. We'll get into that later. Marshall with only 6 points. That's looking like a pretty bad contract going forward. Hilton, fantastic game. McCoy, big bounce back game, 130 yards and a touchdown. Lacey, a huge game, 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 receiving. That receiving touchdown, that was nuts. Jimmy Graham with over 20 points. Matthews, back from injury. Ryan Matthews with 18 points. So, an overall very, very solid week from Reitzma. 168 points, I believe, was the second highest in the league this week. Another game that doesn't matter features 2 teams that are out of the playoffs, and that is the Fear Boners losing to the Masonites. I got this game wrong. I'm not exactly sure why I picked the Fear Boners. I usually like to go with projections, and Doug was projected 10 more points. I was wrong, because I went against the projections. Goose Egg from Michael Floyd, only 1 point from Mercedes Lewis for the Fear Boners. Big game from Robert Woods in the loss with 26. Edelman and Brady, they had a good connection with 19 points apiece, but just was not enough. Because over on the Masonite side, again, not really playing for a whole lot, except Masonites now avoids the bye week in the anti-playoffs. Ferguson is still alive for that. Romo, 25. Jarvis Landry, 2 touchdowns, 24 points. And then Parkey, however you say his last name, with 25 points. Kickers are stupid. I never, ever get good performances out of my kicker. His running backs did not come to play, though. Mark Ingram, very terrible game with 5 points, and Bryce Brown with 2. But again, doesn't matter. They're not in the playoffs. We'll go with my matchup next. No. Oh, doing it live. Gotta love this. We'll go with the comeback game of the week. These 2 teams are all but guaranteed to face each other in another couple weeks, and that was Bear Down 40-yard dash 133 over the Fist Pumpers, Fist Pumping Like Champs 131. Mike needed a huge game from Drew Brees last night, and he got it. I think that was the only player for either team last night. Looking a little closer. Yeah, so got 27 points out of him, over 400 yards, 420 even. 3 passing touchdowns, only the 1 interception. So 27 points, got Mike the 2-point victory. Doesn't really matter. Andy, I guess, could have moved up to the 3 seed. Mike could have potentially dropped to the 6 seed. And I guess if that would have happened, they still would have faced each other. And, well, then they would have avoided me in the second round. Probably. Anyway, I guess I do have to win next week. Over on the Fist Pumper side, AJ Green, 24 points without a touchdown. That 20-point plateau without a touchdown, that's not sacred territory. It doesn't happen a ton. So that's good to see over on his end. Julio with 17. Other than that, his stud wide receivers have fallen off a little bit. He does not necessarily have the slam dunk best wide receiving core left in the league. Yeah. Over on Mike's side, in fact, he might have been outplayed. No, doesn't look like he was outplayed by Mike's wide receivers. Another poor game by Kelvin. Detroit's offense continues to struggle. I might be sitting Megatron in D2. I've got stud wide receivers besides him, but until he shows me something, just Stafford is terrible. Although they play Chicago this week, I'm probably not sitting him this week. 19 points from your kicker. Kickers are stupid. 18 points from Roddy White. So Roddy continues to outscore Julio. Granted, it was only by 1 point this week, but Roddy has been a more solid performer than Julio. Julio has been a disappointment this year. I'll go ahead and say that. In the running back core, Mike was not helped out at all. Marshawn Lynch came back down to earth. Denard Robinson back down to earth. Only 18 points between the two of them. Mike Evans had a solid game. He did get that touchdown, but without that touchdown, he's got a very poor game. Only 6 points or 7 points. So 133 to 131. Not a great game. Not terrible games either. So I talked about that matchup. Boom, boom. Yeah, I guess we're up to my matchup. I continue to say it. I am the best team. I have the best players. And I did it this week without Julius Thomas and without Arian Foster. Now, Foster, I guess we shouldn't be shocked that he's injured, but it's a huge drop-off from Julius to my other tight ends, either Stonehands Ebron. I can't believe I have him in both leagues for the next 5 years. And Vernon, because he didn't pay me in the offseason, I'm not going to try Davis. And then even besides that, Luck with his worst performance of the year. Andre Johnson with... Gotta love doing it live. Gotta love technology. Come on. Freaking Yahoo. Well, Andre with only 6 points. I'm going to say that that's probably his worst score of the year as well. Oh, no, he did throw up 3 back in week 9. He's been terrible since I've gotten him. That was a bad trade for me. So even terrible Vernon Davis, Luck at his worst, Andre Johnson at close to his worst, I still dropped, I want to get the number exactly correct, 192 points, even without all that. My kicker, only 11 points. And that's because I had huge games from the rest of my guys. The rest of my team all scored at least 20. Josh Gordon, that magic number 20, no touchdown, 8 receptions, 120 yards. Brian Hoyer was forcing it to him. I loved it. It was awesome. They still got the win. Love Josh Gordon. Happy to see him back. Emmanuel Sanders, a week after his concussion, 23 points with no touchdown. So my guys are getting the yardage. Touchdowns are hard to predict. My guys are getting the yardage. Jamal Charles, 22 points. He didn't have a touchdown. Matt Forte, I mentioned that I'd fist pumped it a couple times when he scored against my Buccaneers. Couple touchdowns, 27 points. Anquan Bolden, 28 points. Would have had over 20 even without his touchdown. And then Demaryius Thomas, the best wide receiver in the game right now. So happy that I made that trade for Crabtree. 3 touchdowns, 10 receptions, and 87 yards. So I guess some of my guys are getting touchdowns. 36 points. I believe he led all players this week. So I'm not even at full strength, and my team is dropping 192. So strong. So very, very strong. I got to be the favorite. I'll put my team up against anyone else the rest of the way. Let's look forward quickly to next week. Like I mentioned, not a whole lot to play for next week. I essentially control my own destiny. If I beat Mike, which I'm currently projected to beat him by 20, even though... Oh, look at that. The 3 best teams according to projections next week are all 3 teams in our division. Brian's projected 159. So I'm projected to beat Mike by 20. If I beat him next week, I will get the 1 seed, assuming that Rob doesn't beat me by 300 points this week. If I lose, Rob can sneak in and get it, although he is projected to lose to Reitzma by 19 points. So I just need to avoid that. I need to avoid my own 20-point upset, and I need Rob to not get the 20-point upset. As long as neither one of those things happen, I will get the 1 seed, best regular season record, most points, I've got most points all but wrapped up. I am 97 points up on second place. I think my projections have it at 99.9% likely that I will get the most points. So, Rob and I have the buys. We will be seed 1 and seed 2 in some order. Wrightsman has the third seed locked up as long as Durs doesn't outscore him by like 200 points. Durs has the fourth seed. Mike has the fifth seed. And Brian is pretty much locked into the sixth seed as long as Justin doesn't outscore him by like 200 points. So, not a whole lot to play for this week, other than right near the top. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the anti-playoffs. It is a little bit more muddied there. Really, the only person that's locked in is Ivan. Gets the 12 seed. He gets the bye, so congratulations, you get the bye. That's usually good. Not in the anti-playoffs, though.